network with USOKS, and we got quite a lineup. I'm going to turn it over to Bob Newton, and he can tell you all about it right now.
Well, thank you, Bobby. Thank you very much. How's it going?
Good. Can't be much better, I'm telling you. We're going Ustream. I'd like to mention that, too. On our shows, I know we'll be doing Ustream also, so they can pick the audio or they can look at our ugly faces.
Wow. Going video, huh?
Yeah, going video. About time, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's very awesome. Cool. Anyway, thanks again, Bobby. And as we evolve, it's going to be interesting to watch for sure, huh?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay. Thanks again.
Okay. Go ahead, Bob.
Anyway, hello and welcome to the USOKS Campfire Chats. I'm Bob Newton, founder of the USOKS. In the weeks that has preceded the show, I've spent many hours, thinking how to present this broadcast, the fourth in our series on catastrophism. With us today, we have a combination of independent researchers that present pieces to our puzzle that has been met with some very nasty resistance in many instances. However, we know the cream rises to the top, and the truth does also. 6 years ago, I was reunited with the works of James Churchward in the Lost Continent of Mu. And as I started to peel away the layers, I was reminded of questions I had that had been long buried by time and life's duties. As I started to research again, I found videos on a friend's wall done by an independent researcher from Austria and his presentations of out-of-place artifacts found around the planet. His videos covered ancient writings made in stone found around the globe. It was the same. And I felt this writing would show me links to our world before the times, say, described in biblical records in the Old Testament, which I feel many of the stories in the Old Testament are from a much older time than we can accept because we've been taught differently and misled by some of our trusted ones. For me, Klaus Dona has pointed to some very interesting questions I found I had the answers to, and many I had not asked yet. Since I watched the videos, it's never been dead-ended on my research path. As Klaus says, he's been digging for answers to find more questions, which is the title of his book, by the way. After following his work for a few years, and watching more of this illusion vanish, I really got the feeling that Klaus, what he presented, he walked the walk and talked the talk. And need I say more? I'm very happy that we could pull Klaus out of bed at midnight to be on the show. And he might forgive me someday, but thank you, Klaus, for doing it. Tonight, we connect four researchers that have pieces to this puzzle that need to be looked at and added to our understanding of how deep the past goes. Tonight, we also have Jack Churchward, the great-grandson of James Churchward. Jack has picked up James's research that's been sitting in the corners for decades. And for that, Jack, I thank you because it brought back the memory that I read The Lost Continent of Mu at the age of 9, thinking it was a strange fairy tale. Now, 51 years later, I see it as a not-so-strange one, a tale that seems to have echoed through time, just altered a bit. Also tonight, we have Steve and Evan Strong from Australia that have presented information that connects with the Churchward research and many of the nuggets Klaus Dona has shown us. So good evening, afternoon, and morning, gentlemen, and allow me to make those brief little introductions to the show. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Bob.
Hi, Klaus. How's it
Hi,
going?
Klaus.
Well, thanks for having me on. This is
Sorry for the moment, but it looks like Steve and Evan dropped out. I'll add them back in just a second. Again, thanks for having us. But moving on with this world we call the past, I'd like to start off with Klaus, the man who I call the keeper of the keys. Klaus, welcome.
Hello, Bob. Thank you for inviting me to your program.
Well, thanks for being here, Klaus. It seems that you present some of the coolest artifacts that can be found on the planet, and I know that you scrutinize them rather tight. But one of the things that really influenced me was your presentations, and I've heard you say many times in the beginning there was stone, and as time has gone on here, I find that a well said statement, and between that statement and your presentations of the writing in stone, I kind of drew a conclusion, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the ancients wrote on it also from the beginning. What's your opinion on that?
Yes, I think they knew already that stone is the only material, or one of the very few materials, which never changes the outside, the structure. And when I said about this in conferences, I was invited. Some scientists, they were laughing at me, and they said, if there once was a high civilization long time ago on Earth, why, and they had high tech and everything, why they should have written on stones, on simple stones. And then I just answered, do you remember the first computer floppy disks? I still have a few at home, but there is no way where I can read them again. And that's just, we are talking about a few years. And in a few years, there is a new technology coming, and then the little floppy disks, you have no more chance to read them. And the next one will be that maybe something comes out which is even more modern than the DVDs, and then some new technology comes out. So where would we write on it to cover it if thousands of years later people should be able to read it? And I think they knew that stone would be the only way that generations, thousands of years later, or 10 or even 100,000 years later, they could try to find out, to be able to read these writings which they did on stones. And as I mentioned to you, Bob, we found the same unknown writing in several countries on several continents. That means beginning from Ecuador, Colombia, United States, France, Malta, Italy, Turkmenistan, and even Australia, the same unknown writing. I mean, the French stones were found already, the French artifacts were found already in 1924. That means if there was a faker or one man who tried to cheat the whole world, he must have made hundreds of stones and bring them from South America to North America to Europe to Asia and even to Australia in the years before 1924. That's impossible. The next thing is, as you mentioned also about the Bible before, there is the story of the building of the Tower of Babel. Until they built the Tower of Babel, they all spoke one language. And this is one writing which is the same found on stones worldwide. So what would you say?
I'd say that is probably the importance of the ancients writing on stone, is so that eventually we might be able to pick up the fragmented pieces that are scattered globally and piece together a picture, maybe?
Yes, and the strange thing is there was one great man, his name was Kurt Schildmann. He was the president of the German Linguistic Society. He was able to speak and write 40 languages. and he mentioned he did not say he translated. He was able to translate this writing, this unknown writing. He said he deciphered this unknown writing, and his conclusion was that this oldest unknown writing has a likely similarity to the Easter Island writing and to the Indus Valley writing from Mohenjo-daro. And another thing was that so many symbols are also on, and tonight I'm very happy to have the chance also to talk to Jack Churchward, because his grandfather did an impressive and great work. And later on, I can tell you something new, Jack and Bob, which is also connected with the Easter Island.
All right. I look forward to that, Klaus. Well, that's cool. I am thinking about, you just mentioned something about the Easter Island, and the Birdmen came to mind, but I really don't want to sidetrack too much. But symbology is a very, very important and misinterpreted facet of understanding the ancients, I found. And well, when I say I know Anne stands this ground too, that the symbology really kind of throws a twist. So, but I have another question for Klaus. How Klaus, you have a descriptive way of describing our timeline, and I found it to be the best yet. And that is looking at it in layers. And what the way that catastrophes and the catastrophism outlook showers down upon us, it does come down in layers. And I'd like to ask, let me see here.
We've got a couple of questions.
Yeah, a couple of questions. Let me find it right here. It's right before me. In your opinion, Klaus, how does that writing in the stone that's been found globally, and you were very skeptical in your assessment of it, but how would something like these stone layers, how would it show us the depths of our timeline, in your opinion?
This is very, very difficult, Bob, because stone is we are not able to age date stones until now. But I heard about a new technology invented in Switzerland, which might be able to analyze also the carvings in stone, and maybe one day we would have the possibility to do some of the age dating on some of these stones with the oldest writings.
Would let me ask, from your expertise, I mean, you're an observer, a very good one at that. Is there any way that we could identify maybe some of the layers just by the style of that writing, or maybe the evolution of it?
No, the style of the writing, this is the strange thing, which was also one of the attacks from some scientists against me. They said that this writing is definitely a fraud because it is a mixture of different style of writings. And I think, on the other hand, maybe there was a real global writing, and out of this global writing, someone took the style of the runes, another one took the style of the Greek writings, another one took symbols as a writing. Maybe they picked up certain style from the total one. Maybe there was really once the global writing, and then they picked up certain style and refined it.
So basically, they diversified. So there was a root language, and they diversified as they spread out globally.
I beg your pardon, I didn't understand the question.
I believe what she was asking is, as this root language, you mentioned the Tower of Babel. When the tower came crumbling down, the root language was scattered and
Diversifying.
and it diversified because of the pockets that migrated out. You know, the ones that survived, they
Could be.
they evolved their own style of that.
Could be, Bob. But just let me go back to Kurt Schildmann as he deciphered these writings. He did me the favor and he translated some of the stones, some of the writings on the stones from Ecuador, from Colombia, and also from the so-called famous Burroughs Cave. And all these writings were talking about big catastrophe, that the food was not able to be eaten, that the water was poisoned, and all these stories.
Well, that was you beat me to the punch, because that was one of the things I wanted to ask you about, was the Burroughs Cave. We've talked about it before, as to where, you know, when you really look at the artifacts, it kind of gives you the impression like a bunch of different cultures brought their stuff together and they buried it in a hole. Is that your?
Yeah, it is. That's again Burroughs Cave. Why? Most of the people think that this is a fraud, that the stones with these engravings, with this unknown writing, but also showing faces from people from all over the world. That's one of the reasons why Burroughs Cave is called a fraud. But I can tell you that Kurt Schildmann translated also some stones from Burroughs Cave, and who could make a fraud? Let's say writing symbols and an unknown writing on stones, which finally gives a definite possibility to translate. I mean, there's no way.
Exactly, Klaus. Okay. Okay. Anne has a couple questions for you. I may have to translate, but let her ask the question.
Talking about Easter Island, Klaus.
Yeah.
Ronga Ronga. What's your thoughts on the Ronga Ronga, please?
The Ronga Ronga writing is also, that's the oldest writing which was used by the Easter Island people. Mainly it was written on wood plates. And Kurt Schildmann mentioned in his book about this unknown writing that many of these symbols are connected with this oldest unknown writing, the Ronga Ronga writing from Easter Island. And the same is with the writing from the Indus Valley.
Okay, yeah.
Cool. Okay, and Klaus, Anne has one last little question for you.
Yes.
And then we're going to bring on Jack here also.
Okay, my question, Klaus, is from your research into the depths of the timeline, into the layers, as we say, how long, in your opinion, no one else's, in your opinion, has this planet been inhabited?
This is a very difficult question, and
I know.
Because as long as many of these artifacts which were found worldwide are not accepted from the official science, it's very hard to talk about this or to give an answer on this question. But in Colombia, for example, there is one area which is called Villa de Leyva, and this area is famous for millions of old anomalies or petrified animals and everything. Even they found some dinosaurs in this area. But what they also found in this area is a stone plate with a petrified human hand and a petrified human foot in that stone plate. The geological dating of these stones in Colombia by geologists is approximately 120 to 140 million years. And what they also found in Villa de Leyva are petrified cultivated fruits and vegetables like corn, bananas, avocados, pineapples, cocoa beans, and other things.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, Klaus, but you're describing some vegetables and fruits that supposedly we just recently have made in the last 40 or 50 years.
Yes, but they are similar, the same as we know, but they are completely petrified and found in the same area where you have fossils, millions of fossils and other things. So that would say, and that's not the only strange thing. A friend of mine, Professor Gutierrez, he found also in this area petrified bones of animals, which even the anthropologists cannot say what kind of animals these were, because they do not exist in our days. And these petrified bones have fantastic carvings in them. That means if we talk about dinosaurs and fossils and everything, then we talk about the disappearance of the dinosaurs, which the official science says it's 65 million years. So then we talk of a time older than 65 million years.
So you're describing, Klaus, actually you're describing layers, right? Yeah, I mean, that's,
yes.
And that's what I'm trying to show people are these layers that that you show, and the layers that we're connecting. It's amazing to find petrified. Now, petrified is a stage. Now, is that a stage between being fossilized, or does petrified come before being fossilized, or how does that work?
It's like stone. The bone changes, the material changes. It's hard like stone.
Okay, so the petrification comes after it's been fossilized, and then it becomes petrified.
Yeah.
Great, because sometimes I get that one confused a lot. I'd like to bring Jack into the discussion now. I found the symbology, like you were saying, Klaus, put forth in the Churchward, accounts, translations, from the Mikal tablets and the manuscripts and stuff that was found in Mexico by William Nivens that James helped translate. And I also, along my trail before I've met you guys, I really had found it's not only an alphabet, but it seemed like there was a language, in the symbols also. And the symbols I'm finding, that really have echoed through times and layers of time. So, Jack, welcome. Thank you for joining the show. No problem, man. You've brought forth a lot, as Klaus has also, in helping us solve some mysteries, from the deep past. And
I've got a few questions for you.
Uh-oh, Jack. Anne has a few questions for you, too. But anyway, I'm going to ask you a real simple one before she gets into the blood and guts here. But, Jack, my first question, and I realize it's one of the overlooks, facets presented in the research, I have a question. As you picked up the work James left behind, did the symbology by any chance play a role in helping you to see there was a deeper connection we have as Earthlings to time on the planet? For instance, when you grasp the meaning of Narayana, the Narayana being just one of the symbols of Mu, but does that make sense?
Kinda. And my approach has been to look over my great-grandfather's work, to research it and try to understand it myself.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, I've done that for a few years myself. But it's interesting though, because uh, along the travels, as raw as some of his presentation was, if you do kind of like Klaus does, if you take the direction that is pointed to and say, hey, do some research and this, you're gonna find something here. That's one thing I found James was pretty good at. But as raw as it was, in senses, we have to remember when he did the research. It was a long time ago.
Over 80 years.
Over 80 years, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, but how many years before that? Was that the total time when he was allowed to see those Nakal tablets?
Well, he wrote it was the 1870s, the early 1870s, that he had witnessed the tablets, and then I guess he had to go to work for a while because I've got records of him being an engineer and working on patents and railroads and such. And eventually he did win a big lawsuit with one of the big steel companies at the time that had stolen from him. And I guess he also accused them of trying to kill him to get to stop the lawsuit, but he won quite a bit of money in about 1914, and I guess spent the next 10, 11 years studying and looking through further with the ability to be able to pay for it as he proceeded.
Right, another independent researcher following going to some place he really didn't want to go, but he went anyway. It sounds like. Right on. So, the symbology is one of the things that we're seeing in our research in the USOKS as being one of our layer indicators. And it's showing us the fragments and how they actually come back around, and in each layer we're seeing. How do I put it? The changes that is put upon, like the symbols and stuff. From my research, I've really followed and believe that the one world language at one time was symbols, and that has led me into the Gamera research, which I've been able to combine and do a lot of this also, which also has led me into Australia, which working with Stephen Evans has really been an eye-opener in actually working with the Churchward research. I haven't allowed myself to be tainted too much by everybody's speculation. I just followed my nose and put one and one together myself. But another symbol, I followed out of the book, The Lost Continent of Mu, was I believe it came from the Niven's tablet. It was the 1231, the swastika.
Mm-hmm. One of many.
Pardon?
It was one of many that he found in his works, that you can find in his works, and it also Niven had uncovered literally hundreds of the what you call a swastika. It was an emblem of the four sacred powers, or that's what James envisioned them as.
Right. Well, that from what I've read, in the books and stuff about, he wished he had some more tablets so he could find out exactly what those original four were. But as time has gone on, we've heard it, represents the four divine forces and the four cardinals and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely been a symbol that I found, because my journey into Cold War Europe showed me a lot about the swastika, and I was really surprised when I got out. We've been doing a little bit of research also with Gary David, who his connection with all of this and the symbology of the Hopi that connects heavily with the Churchward, Lost Continent of New work.
I mean, as regards the swastika, practically every place on the planet I've been to.
It's
Right.
the wheel of life.
Yeah, I've
Right.
seen the swastika.
And it has universal meanings, and that's one of the things that your work and Klaus's work and everything. But coming back to the cross, one of the things that really stood out, and my bell rang, was when Steve and Evan presented their pictures of the carry-on glyphs. They were actually real clear. They were clear enough that you could actually look at them. Stephen did an excellent job of just pointing the things out, which has actually led us to make a few connections with, like I said, Laird is working with Steve and Evan a bit and helping them identify the Dogon symbols on the wall and stuff. So we have made this global connection across an ocean that James said was there, and that part of it, I really, I think is one of the cool things, because also Anne and I are going back to a land that James talks about, and that is Babylonia. So, one of the 7 great cities moved. We're going back to see more of that connection. So, in the overall, what we have on the wall at Carryong is what they call the Celtic cross, and that's just one of them that really stood out and slapped me in the face. And that led, fortunately, Klaus and I and Steve and Evan, we decided to dig a little bit further. And I think that what I'll do is say, hey, Steve and Evan, are you still hanging out there?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, okay. That's what leads me into bringing Steve and Evan, because they have been they've really been presenting the side to the story, and we're just going to take the facet that they have to offer, and that is the work that's been going on around and in Carryong on the glyphs, knowing now that we have various outside sources that are going to stand up and say, yes, they're real, but we just don't have time to mess with it. Well, there are people out there that are making time to mess with this, because it's a pretty important link, and whatever all of us are looking for and going for as independent researchers.
Well, if you wanted to point at another indicator of the universality of the symbols, you were mentioning Niven's discoveries in the Valley of Mexico. And
very important.
What is not mentioned is that he also found during his diggings one place where there were literally hundreds of small figurines representing people of all nationalities.
Right, kind of like in the Burroughs Cave stuff that Klaus is starting to present. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's what I wanted to mention. That he also, Niven mentioned that he had found those, had made those discoveries.
Right.
Check. There is another good example. That's in Ecuador, the Museo Weilbauer in Quito. They have a collection of small ceramic heads of different people from all over the world, and these ceramics are age dated between 1,800 and 2,000 years old. that means, again, at least 2,000 years ago, people must have been able to travel around the world to see how people are looking in different continents. But that goes back to the Nakal plates, which you mentioned before. I have to explain Bob, because I didn't tell him yet, that we got in contact several years ago, Jack, and then I got the information from a German researcher, which I thought he is a serious researcher, and he explained me that he was able to see the Nakal plates personally in India. And I connected him with you, Jack, and you found out that he was giving wrong information, that he was a kind of a swindler. And I really apologize for that I introduced you to him, but I really believed him.
That's not been a problem, Klaus. He tried to fool a lot of people to get more people, I guess, to go on his tours.
Exactly, but I also can promise you that we are already very, very close to a big sensation on the Easter Islands, which again comes back to your grandfather's research, that he was definitely right.
And that's, that, Jack, is part of the thing that's going to be happening, is we are finding a lot of stuff that James wrote. It's the truth, man. I mean, so that's part of what's going on. It's like James, and we all know, the scrutiny, and everybody that's on this show right now knows what I call the Fruit and Vegetable Committee. The people that want to throw, the fruit and vegetables at us because we present what we honestly see. You know what I'm saying? We finally are having our day, and James was an important role, because once I started connecting this and the artifacts that Klaus presented, and then I stumbled into this Gomera work and this Babylonia La Grande, I'm really going to keep following the Churchward research, and be still picky about what I allow into my database. So anyway, Anne has a couple questions, and Stephen Evan, anytime you know where it is, man. You guys have, I think, a big piece of this puzzle also, and I'm really proud to be part of that team down in Australia. So Anne wants to ask a question.
It's just big. I understand, Klaus has got his limited time, and it's very late for Klaus. But I've just been asked a question from one of the USOKS team.
Okay.
Klaus mentioned a new technique on stone.
Uh-huh.
Did he say it was now possible to date a carving or a mark on stone and tell when that mark was made?
Did you hear that, Klaus?
Not exactly, Bob.
Okay, when you mentioned the new dating used on stone carvings, is that just to be done now?
As far as I know, they have this technology already.
Okay. Okay, I think that answer the question that came up from the audience.
I'll look in.
How it exactly works, I don't know, but I try to find it out. But what I think is, if there is a technology, it might not be cheap to do age dating on certain artifacts.
Especially at this early stage, yeah. You know how that goes. It just gets cheaper as time.
There is a new technology on a quantum level, but I'll look into it.
Yeah, quantum physics is definitely something.
Okay.
Okay, so
But concerning age dating, Bob, what I'm also wondering, officially we know that the oldest known highest civilizations were living on Earth about approximately 6,000 years ago, And then geologists are talking about stone formations, the age of 50 million years, 120 million years, 1 billion years. I think, how is all this age dating going on?
Well, I think we have to look at, and this goes into the Churchward research also, is, oh, excuse me, but as I brought up in an earlier show on catastrophism, we have these different cultures that had different methods of keeping track of time. And when I really grasped the understanding of Narayana, the seven-headed serpent that actually represents the 7 periods of time, and seeing that each of the period, some of them fluctuated through time. So if those were 7 periods and they had the rises, and some of them were extensive rises in technology and they were pretty smart, that's one way. And then, we have the Maya, which, definitely were the ones who knew the numbers. We also have another technique that was used by the pre-Incas, and that is called the Paches, which was, is being presented by the Guimaras. So, I think it's just identifying the layers that we have in these connections with a new continent now, Australia. And Jack, the symbology is all over the carry-on walls, and in my opinion, and a lot of other people's too, there's no way a drunk Czech, I think it was, or a bunch of high school boys were able to go in there and do anything but alter. What was that, Evan or Steven? Was that Anubis they added to the ears and made him look like Wile E. Coyote?
Anubis or Seti, we're not sure which, but one of them. Yeah.
Well, it's the obvious. It's the obvious one,
Well, that if I can just share something with you, we've only got this information back yesterday.
Yeah.
One of the biggest problems down in Carry On is, as you probably know, there's all these official stories about it being the 2 main stories of this. Number one, it was made by a deranged Yugoslav. Yeah, 1975. He wandered in there with a chisel, no hammer, and just knocked the whole thing up. That's one story, and that's quite popular, and it's accepted by most government groups. They will also allow into this equation the appearance of Sydney Uni students somewhere between 1964 and 1984 during the whole thing. Now, the beauty of these rebuttals is that no Sydney Uni students have put their hand up. There's no proof. There's no names. They're all anonymous, all very nice and neat. But we've been in contact with a lady, and she was taken to the glyphs in 1958 by a gentleman by the name of Raymond Dickens, who was the Secretary of the Secretariat of the Office of Flora and Fauna in New South Wales, doing work for them on official business. She came on the glyphs then. She's now put a stat deck up, which we now have, with a name and a person and a reputation. And they are saying they were there in 1958, and their description of the glyphs, and they said the one side, the right-hand side, was mainly in glyphs, which it is, and the left-hand side had water coming down and it was faded, which it is. That's exactly how the glyphs look. The interesting part was she was there in 1958, hasn't gone back. That is an exact description of what took place. She's now put the stat deck up, which means we had a name of someone who said it was around 1950. The government officials of anonymous people that no one's ever met, and no one's even sent a stat deck on, they're supposed to have done it. We've now destroyed that part of the story.
If I can butt in here real quick, I can remember when you sent me the pictures, the HD pictures, and I forwarded them to Klaus. The first thing he said to me was, "Look at the patina," So that in itself told me that it's a lot older. Let's see, the English influence moved into Australia how many 100 years ago?
200 and a little bit. The trick with this, yeah, the
200
really
a little bit. Klaus, let me ask you, in your your opinion, the patina on that wall, would you say that could be done in 200 years?
That's a dangerous question, Bob, because I didn't see the originals personally, and just on the photo you can see that it is an old patina, but to answer your question wouldn't be serious.
Okay, well, thank you for your honesty there, because see that's one of the things is the carry-on glyphs are really being scrutinized. They're being, they're being slammed from every corner of the world, but the symbology there. How could I ask this question? How could a bunch of high school kids know different symbology around the world that had never been presented to them before? For one, Dogon. Okay, Steve, Evan, you have an idea? Do you guys have a special school down there that teaches ancient symbology?
No, but I'd like to hear about it because it might help us try to read what they've actually left behind, because they've made it very cryptic. Bob, the most important part of this story is that while the white fellas discuss about whether it was this person or this person there's no names to, what they should be asking is the original people, the people who actually custodians of the history there, which is what we do and they don't. Now, they've given us a full description of the glyphs. Arnie Bev Spears told us how the women would go up there each year for millennia, and we at the time working for them. We told us they lied. Also told us there was a roof on top, and the roof is still there. We found it underneath.
That brings up a question that's been brought up. At the time that the Aboriginal women were going in there was a roof over it, and it was a very sacred and hidden, tucked away corner. Correct? Is that?
Oh, incredibly so. Look, you put a roof on top of that, and I know the entrance and exit. Call it the sealed off tunnel, because honestly, the way in, to crawl in there, you've got to crawl through a long, narrow opening of less than a metre to get inside it. Then it's completely sealed off. There's like a tunnel that leads into it, and on the other side, there's another tunnel that leads out. So it's so protected. It's like you're walking inside the pyramids. Now, if you go inside the pyramids, no one argues about the date there because it's protected.
Well,
and the important part of that story is the original people wanted to add something else to this, which is very important. They said, yes, there's Egyptian glyphs there. Okay. The important part of the story is they also went on to say there are old glyphs.
Yeah, when I first heard about these things, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, that was before I got back into the Lost Continent of Mu, one of the first questions, that really popped up in my head, well, if it was a global culture, a global civilization, then where's the evidence that that would point to it, and then Klaus, his presentations with the out of place artifacts, that really ties a lot of it together. But then here we have this place in Australia that, of course, some of us know and believe in it, but it was a tucked away hole in the wall that you had to be able to crawl through until what did you say, when that bulldozer went over the top? What year was that, 64?
Well, we're not sure that one. We're not sure. The story we've got is in the 1960s, but we can't back that up because it's not actually, it's not a stat deck. It's not signed in front of it.
One of the questions that I have was, when they first went in there, was there debris of that roof falling inside and somebody's removed it, or has it been covered up, with dirt and dust and that kind of stuff? You know how a rock shatters. That's sandstone, correct?
Yeah, well, look, actually, we know the people who cleaned it up, so we can give you the exact answer and know that's exactly what took place. What took place was David Fitzgerald was taken by National Parks and Wildlife site in 1978. They've got it on a film with him saying that. National Parks and Wildlife deny they even saw the place until 1983. So that gives you an idea the whole thing starts. When they got there, they saw virtually nothing but a line of list right at the top. It was decades upon decades of rubbish, which has fallen in, obviously, since the roof has given way. So their job, David's job, was to spend 2 days cleaning the whole thing out. Now, David knew it's sacred. And he's an original man. He understood more about it than anyone else there, but he didn't tell
Okay,
us.
so David was a representative of the Aboriginal tribe, and was he sent there, or did you something maybe?
No, he was actually working. No, he was working for National Parks and Wildlife. He was paid by the government to be the original sites officer. This is his job. He was pulled into this site, but he had to barter his way in because he knew about it. They weren't going to show him. It was all done, and he was sworn to secrecy. They knew at the start what this was. So what happened was, and of course that destroys the idea of someone coming in 1975 because he said there was decades of litter. Now, if it fell away in the 50s or 60s, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So what he's done is clean it out. Then he, along with a lot of other elders, have discussed what they've seen, and they knew what was there. And they've been in contact with us, haven't they, Evan?
Yep.
And what they're now doing is they're telling everyone this is an Egyptian story, yes, but it's also much more ancient. They believe this is the first language, which is what everyone's talking about today. So it's very much a part of that story. But there's one part I'd like to add to this that I don't think we've quite picked up, and we've picked up in Australia. Yes, carry on is what I call the exoteric version of the first language. But there's another version, what I call the esoteric version. We've been working with that one. And that one's found up in a different place up where we are, up near a place called Mullumbimby. And there, it's a combination. It's a language. It says exactly the same thing as carry on. We know that because we've got the interpretation of the one. It's run through rock markings on rocks, hand signs, body gestures, and 100 different animal engravings that make a massive language of 190 different components. Now, a gentleman who was actually the president of the Australian Archaeological Society, when he was working on this site, had compiled 28,000 words off this first language, and that's what he claimed it to be too.
Yeah.
So when we talk about first language, there's two types. There's the ones that's written in symbols, a carry-on. Then there's a more esoteric arrangements of shapes and objects and hand signs and animal parts and signs that makes the same story but written in a slightly different way.
Okay, and that's part of what all of this is about, and the connections that we're doing is it seems like symbols, some of them have echoed through time, and that's one of the things that Churchward really did for me. And then Klaus, he actually showed me some more of those pieces, that just make you go, wow, how can it be denied that at one time, and we're all seeing pieces and parts that of evolution within, whether it be the symbology, whether it be when we started working on a written language, because at one time maybe we really did not need that kind of stuff. It was a symbol. It didn't matter what part of the globe you were in, it meant the same thing. So, that's a universal language. And part of it is understanding layers that we're showing would be in identifying the evolution of these things. But anyway, for a moment, we are going to be rolling into a station break here. I think Bobby K is about ready to do a little station break. But I would really appreciate if everybody could hang on a little bit. Klaus, I know it's pretty late for you. It'd be nice if you could hang on a little bit and share with us some of the good news that's coming out of Australia that Steve and Evan have to share with us. That we can.
Well, I have also good news for Evan and Stephen.
Okay, so can you hang on until after the station break with us?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Klaus. Steve and Evan, you guys, and Jack, of course, please hang on. We're going to swing into the second hour here and share for the first time maybe a little bit of information that will make us think a little bit. Bobby, are you there?
Okay, yeah, we're here. And we'll do a couple of songs. People can take a break, get a Coke, maybe some popcorn, and we'll be right back right after this.
Okay, just throw the cue at us, and everybody, if you want to take a couple minutes, go for it.
And we are back live on Project Freedom Radio with USOKS. So, Bob, would you want to take over?
Hey, thanks, Bobby. Hey, for all those guys that are out there surfing on the V Player and Bobby K's website, visit the site, and if you can, surf by the donate button and donate to Project Freedom Radio. Anyway, Bobby helps us bring this information out to the top. So anyway, we were, I believe, discussing some of the evidence we have stacking up down in Australia that connects with the Churchward and the Klaus Dona research, along with the USOKS, of course. But anyway, I think we left and Klaus had something to say about sharing something new with Evan and Stephen. Klaus?
Yeah.
You said you had something new to share. Wrongs.
I have to talk with them after our program, after your program, Bob, and I have to send them 2 pictures with interesting location.
Yes. So
We think we know what that means.
but anyway, we've been working, Klaus, the Strongs, and the USOKS. We've been working here on something that we found very interesting. But I'm going to let Steve and Evan share with us what they can at this moment on this this find, which is rather significant in a lot of ways. So, you want to share with us, guys?
Oh, definitely we will. Yeah, to what we can at the moment. We've got to be perfect. Look, the important part of this story, Klaus came on this way back before anyone else and started backing this. And one of the things we found is the carry-on glyphs, which we know are legitimate, are actually a smokescreen. They're not that important. It is the stuff we're finding around there that is really knocking us around. And we're having trouble all the time trying to take in the enormity of what we picked up. And what Klaus has been doing, along with another gentleman who will remain nameless while we discuss this, he's been giving us information. And what we found around carry-on is that it was an ancient civilization, and it's confirming of the glyphs. And the glyphs say this, and I can say something about that relates directly to Churchward, of course, too. There are 2 glyphs there that actually really give the clue away. And one is definitely Lemurian. And we've had feedback. I think we did, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yep.
That it meant empire of. And the one above it, which we identified from Proto-Egyptian, means streets. And there is glyphs there all over about an ancient civilization. That's within the walls. We knew that anyway. What we didn't realise was they were talking about where we were standing. Now, Klaus and I both know, and our group knows, that there's a massive civilization. I mean a civilization, not just a couple of buildings, but a huge amount of buildings. And what we're finding is Klaus is giving us direction. And we just go wandering off in the bush. And I've got to tell you, Klaus, nearly every time you give us cliffs, doesn't he? You just the most dangerous occasions to walk on. And we are on every occasion huge results. We're at the stage now, there's not a person amongst us that even doubts that everything on that map has got a result. They're all with that, and there's about 40 we've only just started. On 3 occasions, we've seen wall systems, and we've put them up on articles. They come straight out of Chile, for real. It is the same masonry skills where each wall a block. They're massive blocks, aren't they?
Yep.
Sometimes they won't. They've been packed into one another.
Station. She's been real defensive.
She's the one that's causing problems. I'll get everybody in the back now.
Okay.
I've removed myself. It's a fake profile.
Anyway, we're having a little trouble with the signal with Steve and Evan.
Great.
But Klaus, you've done a lot of work down in Australia that's definitely changed a lot of minds that are involved in the inner circle. a lot of people don't realize that we are also dealing with the inner circle of the elders of the Aboriginals in the region there, and we have to respect their spiritual world, that they hold a lot of these places sacred, and they have been violated by progress. Let's call it progress at this stage. But anyway, I think your signal popped back up a little bit better there, Stephen Evan. But can you just give us a little bit more, a brief summary of this connection off, the Carryong area, the region that actually connects and could be another one of those unsung cities of Moo, because the southwest corner of Moo was very significant, and maybe that's what was.
Can you hear me this time? Because I gather you didn't last time.
Now, yeah, we can hear you a lot better. A lot better.
Well, what we're saying is Klaus has been giving us a series of maps. I'm not saying more than that. That have taken us to on every occasion the remains of ancient civilization with rock walls that come straight out of South America. The masonry we see is beyond belief, and I can tell you, Aboriginal people are a rock-on-rock technology. This is something that's not in their toolkit, or maybe it was, but isn't anymore. We've done 4 of about 50 that Klaus has given us, and he's given us some more that I think relate to some rocks, which is part of the story too. And what we're finding on every occasion, absolutely no doubt, there's an ancient civilization there. When we went to the first of Klaus's sites, which is on the side of a cliff, if you walk the wrong way, you'd fall down. It's that dangerous. When you get inside the structure, it's perfectly flat. And what really shocked us is we actually got inside this structure that was obviously built. There's no doubt about that. Absolutely sure it was built. And what we found was there were 3 sets of walls there. Now, what happened was we started measuring the walls, and they were holding up a shelf above that could weigh 50 tons, maybe more.
Maybe more.
And we found that the first wall was 293 centimetres high, and the second wall was 292 centimetres high. Well, that's a bit of an issue, if it's just natural, these walls.
So
and secondly,
is that about 15, 20 feet? What is the feet range?
Oh, sorry, sorry. Oh, I should do that, yeah. Look, 290 is about 9 foot, okay? So they're about 1 centimetre difference, which is about less than an inch, half an inch difference between the 2 walls.
Oh, really?
What was really basic was the
and
bottom
these walls
walls
are made out of stone, correct?
Sandstone, yeah. But the killer, for anyone that says it's natural, is what we discovered next. Each of them has a base rock, and the base one is the big one. They build the ones on top, which is how you build something. If you're holding something above like that, wouldn't you? You'd have your biggest rock at the bottom.
Right.
What we found out was the 3 base rocks were 189, 190, and 190 in height, which is around 6 foot each of them. 1/2 of an inch difference again. Now, if this was nature, nature's playing games with me that I never understand.
Well,
so
it
what
sounds
we
like to me, it's a nice little slope for a roof. A 1/2 inch slope. It's enough to get the water running off.
That's all it was done for, Bob. It was just meant as a bit of and look, there's 4 sets of layers of walls in each 3 of them. It was obviously artificial. Now, unfortunately, there are tunnels behind there, which we won't go much into. I was in the scrawniest in our group, and I managed to get in, 10 metres maybe?
Yeah, maybe so.
But the wall from above, the whole rough flat from above, which is on 45 degrees, has come down and is crushing it. And there's damage all over. But it is definitely ancient.
Now, we're talking about the hole, right? The spot, right?
Yeah.
Or we have the pictures of that wall. That's the next thing. I'd like to have a few more pictures of that wall.
Well, we put them up in an article, Bob. We can send them across to you.
I have all the pictures, but maybe in a different light.
Give you more. What more, Evan? You can do that, can't you?
I can do that.
You can have many pictures.
I know Jan Peter de Jong. He kind of is drooling to find out if that's an Urin Poncho wall or if it's been engraved, because it really looks like the stuff we found, that we see in Peru,
Oh, look, Look, it's the same. I mean, the American connection is really strong here.
Well,
But it's exactly,
yeah, but what we're finding, is even more and more the evidence that backs up the Churchward stuff. Really, in the long run, when it comes down to it, it's been presented. There are holes in it, but that's because James only was allowed to see 2 of the tablets. Klaus said, luckily there is somebody out there that has seen a few more. So maybe in time, when we decide to burn the wall of illusion that's surrounding all this information, to where we can get at the core of it and say, hey, wow, our past is pretty cool. Let's find out what it's really about. So, Klaus, in your opinion, what you are finding and what you have found down in Australia, how do you think it fits within our catastrophism idea? And how do you think it really connects in the overall to the possibilities, which some of us believe, of that lost continent of Mu?
Completely, Bob, completely. And I'm very happy that our research, what we gave my friend, helped me a lot with his technology. We could help Stephen and Evan. And I'm happy that Jack could hear what they said, that every place we gave them was a very interesting and true place. And that's what I said before, Jack, that we did the same research on Easter Island. And for me, at the moment, what we know until now is that Easter Island was one of the most important areas of this lost continent Mu. I cannot say more because we have to try to find the right connection to the Easter Islands, to an archaeological team who is working there. If they are willing to go on our research, to do more on our research, then I'm quite sure that they find things which until now they even never thought about it.
So the picture of Mu that is, this image of Mu just seems to be becoming more and more of a reality than just an image, like a mirage. At first, when I started indulging into the research, that goes into those layers, it was kind of like a mirage. But now, with everything coming together, it's not. It's really cool to watch this coming together. What do you think?
Sorry, Rob. If I just add something
ask Jack, Jack, what do you think, about all this coming together here?
Well, I think it's great, the information showing. I do have to mention, though, although there's maybe James never went to Australia or was upset with the people of Australia, but he mentioned that he found no evidence of Mu in Australia. So it's excellent that that the Strongs are finding information and evidence that there was a prehistoric civilization there of high degree. And the fact that evidence is being found all over is just, just obviously it adds a lot more weight to his sayings. And what we can look forward to as human beings in the future, if we can return to some method or some manner of being able to get along with each other.
Exactly, because that's really that's what I think myself happened in Mu until the Star Ball come tumbling down, which is another show or a series all in itself. No, I think it's pretty cool that James and you, Jack, your latest book, The Lost Continent of Mu, The Motherland of Men, I believe.
That was my first book. My latest book is about my great-grandfather's. He wrote a book in 1927 after he finally did get in touch with William Niven, and wrote up a a pamphlet or something for Christmas for his publisher called Copies of Stone Tablets Found by William Niven near Santiago Ahuizacla near Mexico City. And I didn't keep the same title, so it won't be as long this time. It's going to be called The Stone Tablets of Mu, and look into the symbolism in his, what he deciphered each of the symbols to be on the tablets, and some new ones are shown that weren't included in his later books. And also I provided a little bit of history of William Niven and the theories about what he had discovered there.
Cool. That, yeah, you know, and I think that's so great. You know, I often look at you and Jesus Camara, you know, as two individuals who's had the opportunity to pick up research that's been done within the family and carry it forward, you know, to go over it and you know, actually bring it to us and add in your first book. All the references that you added to it were exactly what we're missing in the first, you know, what James wrote, because he just didn't write them in, but you did a very good job doing that. And I recommend your books to people who are just now entering into this realm that is being presented of our ancient past that we're really trying to understand. It's not that we're trying to prove the mainstream wrong, it's just that we're trying to show the mainstream that there's more to the picture than meets the eye, you know. And it, like Klaus says, I've heard him say it a couple times, you know, without the scientists, we're not, the scientists and these professionals, we're not going to be able to actually prove all of this. But we know that Klaus and his team, when they go in and let's just take the bone, the hand and foot, when they go in to check out those kind of things, they check out the whole scenario. I mean, it's not like they take one little facet of it and run with it. I mean, they check all the facets, you know, like the dating of the pyramid, the Bosnian pyramids. There's independent researchers out here that are not accepted in some places because of what they present, but what they present cannot be denied. And that's what Evan is trying to do down there in Australia. Evan and Stephen, you know, they've been, along with, I believe it's Rex Gilroy and his wife, I forget her name, but, you know, they were suppressed down there in a lot of ways, and we're finding that globally, you know, pieces and parts that are being suppressed. Another empire of Mu would be, correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, but is it the Ugyars, the Ugyars in China? Uyghur?
No, Uyghur.
Okay.
The Chinese call them Uyghurs. But
Wingers?
Uyghurs. But that's not how they pronounce their name. Their name is Uyghur. Uyghur.
Okay, now let me ask, since I have you and Klaus here, has there been any artifacts that really, because I know they're really suppressed, aren't they, Jack? Aren't they suppressed by the Chinese people at this time?
Yes. If I might mention, a Uyghur scholar was just arrested on the 15th and put in jail just because he was going to get on a plane and go to the U.S. His name is Hilam Tokti, and he's a outspoken person who believes in the equality of human beings, and he wants to go with the Constitution of China, but yet they have suppressed him. So that's just one example.
Well, you know, I mean,
Bob, may I say something to Jack?
sure enough.
Jack, I received a great book from a Korean researcher. His name is Jae Hisuk, and the title of the book is Black Shelled Jade Sculptures and Mago Civilization, MAGO. And he did a great research on pieces found in Mongolia, partly now belonging to China. Big recoveries by Korean professors, black shelled jade sculptures. And they are approximately 30, 40, 50 centimeters in height. These are jade figurines, black painted, but still yet they could not find out what they used for painting these sculptures black. And the interesting thing for me is, and also for your research, Jack, it's the area of southern Mongolia, the area where you said Uyghurs, exactly. I think these pieces belong to this culture, and they are black painted, the jade figurines. That means it's another connection to the Moais from Easter Island, because also they are using black stone for the big sculptures.
Mm-hmm.
I think I sent those pictures to Jack to look at.
I wasn't supposed to say anything about it, so I didn't. I did see them.
But anyway, Klaus, when you say painted, would that be more like an enamel? You know how an enamel type paint, or a glazing on a ceramic, or is it like a paint?
It's a really, in this case, it's a really a kind of paint.
Well, that area
Because
of Central Asia is home to, or was home to, the historic Great Uyghur Empire in the 8th and 9th century. They came out of the Huns and the Göktürk, and they were eventually chased out by the Kazakhs and moved into the Tarim Basin, where our Uyghurs are living now, as well as some people even say that the Magyars are descended from some Uyghurs.
Oh yeah, there are lots of stories, because they found in this desert area of where the Uyghurs are living even today, they found mummies with red hair and so on.
So that was okay. So finally, thank you, Klaus. So those red-haired mummies with the tattoos and the exquisite features and everything. So those are found in the, correct me if I'm wrong, Ugyars? It was
in the Taklamakan desert area.
Yes.
So it was found in their region, which is another indicator, that we had migrations and/or we had travelers from different regions at a very, very ancient time. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, but going back to that, I wonder what I'm finding hard to connect are these ancient cities, because James doesn't really go into it, very deep. I know he mentions Babylonia and he mentions Atlantis, but I'm left with the impression that Egypt was nothing more than a colony or something on the edge of the culture of Mu. But I can't find, the names of these cities, which basically translates into regions, or how would you say, departments, how they split it up in Mu.
Well, in the Children of Mu, James does speak about how how he believes the Earth was populated, and he actually mentions the Egyptians in both the western and the eastern migrations of the people. And there was some explanation in there that the northern and the southern point different directions as the place where Mu was, or the creator god.
Yeah, Bob, don't forget what technology existed in the 1870s, 1880s. That's what I think is the greatest thing anyway with James Churchward. What he did with the possibilities in these days was just amazing and a great, great.
Exactly.
I completely agree.
I've
We've
said
discussed it.
1,000 times, man. If James and Alfredo Gamera and Velikovsky and a few of these other people had the internet, I don't think we'd be having this conversation right now, because you're absolutely correct. I've said this, and I know a lot of members, they know that Churchward put it across, and without what he put across, I don't think we would be connected right now.
Right, exactly.
And they can put it in code. They can put it across as irony. They can put it across in many different ways.
Right.
Like the big
And see, that's what we're finding, really between, especially with Churchward and Gamera's work, is when they put it across, they had to put it across in a way that it was kind of ironic, or they had to describe what they could have really cut to chase and done in 10 words, but they had to skirt, beat around the bush a little bit, and drop little hints as to where to pick it up, because they were so censored back then. And we even run into that censorship today. And slowly, it's really hard to do, because we do have the internet now and can connect so fast. I mean, just with the YouTube videos, Klaus, your outreach and that you've done with them, and Stephen Evan and Jack, your mymoo.com, man, that really that was really cool, because all of a sudden that really drug me into thinking of, wait a minute, where have I heard this before, And so the internet has really helped a lot of us, and right now, if it wasn't for the internet, we wouldn't be having this discussion, So using today's technology and connecting researchers, that will pull together and make sacrifices. Klaus, he's really up early in his morning to share with us, with Jack and Stephen Evan, and these all connect. And I'm really honored in a lot of ways to be able to make some of these connections. And hopefully we'll be able to give Klaus a break here sometime and get him on at a different time so he can really be fresh. But Klaus, you've seen all these artifacts, okay? You traveled. You were in Japan for what, 14 years?
No, I worked with Japan approximately 25 years.
So you've been, back and forth, and over in Japan, over time, I've heard the story of, you're skeptical, you being skeptical on a lot of stuff.
Of course, I'm still skeptical on many things. That's I should have been also more skeptical when I received from the German researcher the information that he could see the original Nakar plates. And I informed, because I was so impressed and happy, I was not skeptical enough, and I informed Jack. And Jack found out that this was not a real story. So from that moment on, I am even more skeptical for new informations.
Well, Klaus, I mean, you're batting, as we say in America, really, you're batting a .999. I mean, because of your skepticism. And, Klaus, you've been involved also with a lot of stuff that's come out of Ecuador, and the Father Crespi plates and his artifacts. And I've noticed between some of the images that we see on those plates, they connect with a lot of the images that Churchward presents. And I'm just wondering if you ever noticed that commonality between some of the symbols on these plates, not necessarily just Father Crespi's, but some of the other stuff that you found down in South America.
Yeah, and now we have this story about Ecuadorian pyramid. I think you also saw all the pictures this so-called pyramid. I received the information from Bruce Fenton a few days ago that the government did the research on the spot, and the result is that this is a natural formation. But I can tell you what we know already with my friends' technology and help, that there are underground structures, tunnel systems, and all this in this area. So if the government did official research on the spot and they decided it's natural, I just can say they are wrong. And it goes again to a civilization which is older than the Inca civilization.
So, Klaus, let me ask you this. Okay, just for clarification, the government came in there with what? Ground penetrating radar?
I don't know what they used, but this is just the short information I received the day before yesterday from Bruce Fenton.
Okay, and also we're talking about, are we talking about the place that has also been nicknamed the City of the Giants?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, because you know how things get split up out there. Thanks for that clarification. So, Klaus, I believe in your technology. I sat there with the Strongs when we drew out the Google Earth coordinates to the entrance of their scan. So, and not only that, but your work with the tunnels in Bosnia. I have faith in all this. So can you enlighten us a little bit more about that?
It's a little bit too early, Bob.
But hey, don't kick me for asking. Okay, so the City of Giants. Okay, of course that goes along with was it the heel bone? Was that found in Colombia or was that found in Ecuador? The heel bone?
No, the giant bones you mean, they were found south of Ecuador in the province of Loja.
Okay, so we have some correlation with giants right there in Ecuador.
Exactly.
So without prying too much, they're calling it a pyramid now. In your opinion, with what you could share with us, would you consider it pyramid?
We do not know if it is really the shape of a pyramid, but we definitely know that there are so-called anomalies, which means rooms and tunnels exactly in the area where I got the coordinates from Bruce Fenton and also from Manuel in
Palacios, are you talking about?
Palacios, Manuel, sorry. It's already nearly 2 o'clock in the morning and my brain is already half sleeping. Manuel Palacios, I received photos and coordinates, and that's the area we did our scan. And I can tell you there are a lot of tunnel systems and rooms. That means building structures, etc. So I was a little bit surprised about the information from Bruce Fenton that the government did an official research on the spot and found out that it's naturally. I can say, and especially I'm happy that Evan and Stephen could approve that our scans, our directions were correctly. So I'm also sure our research in Ecuador is same correct. And one day, I think we will have the chance to be on the spot, and we check it by ourselves.
Yeah, Klaus. And it's good that Bruce. I'm glad to hear that Bruce Fenton and Manuel are working along the lines, because I know both of them know what's down there. And, really in a lot of ways, sometimes you can't blame some of the South American governments for being so protective of their archaeological sites because of the pillage that has gone on and is still going on, But as long as we know, and this technology, Klaus, that you brought forward, which is, it's really helped a lot of us find some things that, in the future here, we're going to be able to really release what we're really finding. You know what I mean? So that technology is just amazing, that it is proving we have layers on top of layers hiding things underground that now can be seen, identified, protected, which that's the good thing about what you're doing too, Klaus, is the stuff can be protected from the start.
I've got a question
Uh,
from the chat.
But Klaus, we have a question for you from the chat.
Klaus, do you have any insight into the recently alleged pyramid found off the coast of Portugal?
Oh, did you hear that, Klaus?
Yes, I read the information, but I do not know anything at the moment. Whenever we get the approximately destination, the coordinates, then we can try to check it out.
So you feel it's worth checking out, huh? It comes from a reliable enough source.
You never know. I told you, you have to be skeptical.
There you go. Thanks, Klaus. Because a lot of people forget to put that in your equation. We have to be skeptical, as as we were with the engravings and what we found in Carryong and what we found about it. But that's changed now. Things have changed there. Things have changed in Peru too. I mean, that's one of the things when we go back to Peru.
Yeah, that's why, Bob. Now there are so many also false informations coming up on internet to mix up the whole researches.
Exactly, Klaus, and that's that honestly that's one of the things that the USOKS was created for. Was, hey, let's stop the spin and the false information. I mean, there's researchers out here that are going to present it as we see it. We're not out here to tell you, hey, this is the way it is, but the evidence points to things that there's a lot of people out there that just don't want us to tell and want us to put together the pieces, that shows us the truth about our past. So, and that's one good thing about researchers like us. We share what we see and what we can at the moment, and we go forward and make these connections. The Pacific is a pretty big ocean out there, and now we're connecting all of that side of the ocean to things, and we've also been connecting things on the Atlantic side with Egypt and those regions. So it's just opening people's eyes to how deep our past is, I guess. So, Steve and Evan, as far as things go, you're seeing the depths of all this outside research and how it's connecting with what you guys are having. What are your feelings on all this? Finally getting the notice of what you're presenting. How does that make your team feel?
Well, it does. It certainly helps. It helps a lot with them. It makes a difference because in this country, we're having a lot of trouble with mainstream authorities, but that's not really an issue anymore. I can say one thing about Klaus's technology. Klaus says one thing it doesn't detect yet, and that's spiders. We actually went out, because every time we get a chance, when we go out on site, what we do is we set one day aside to do some more of the map. And we went out to a place, and we're not going to give up the technology and all that sort of stuff. And we went to where you said there was a tunnel, didn't we, Evan?
Yes, we certainly did.
And Klaus, you found us a tunnel. It goes for about 25 metres, and it's definitely, I cannot see how it hasn't been artificially made. The only problem is,
Our guinea pig, aka Gareth.
yeah, we sent in our guinea pig, and he backed up at the start because right in front of the start of the tunnel was a family of funnel web spiders. And if you guys don't know overseas, I think you've got what do they call a red bat? It's a black widow, isn't it?
Now,
In America.
okay, we had this discussion the other day. In America, we have this thing called the brown recluse, and as far as on the scale, it's way below that funnel spider, and I believe you have a brown spider too that is deadly.
Oh yeah, and that one. The problem was our guinea pig just would not go any further because there was about a dozen of them running around in front. So Klaus, that one, we found your tunnel, but we ran away.
It was a bit scary.
So what that shows,
Yeah.
it just shows again how effective what Klaus is doing is, because it actually has made such a difference. Because when we this is what I mean, it's okay for the elders to tell us there was an ancient civilization. They've told us this, by the way. We wouldn't be saying this if they weren't backing it.
A lot of them actually call Australia news.
Yeah. We've heard that many times. So we're only going where we're told here. And they're the ones who keep talking about the carriers from up there. In fact, if I can share something with you, the original people that I'm working with have become so obsessed with the carriers up there, which they believe are Pleiadians. My elder told me last time we brought new people under country, for the first time ever, she said, unless they believe in the carriers up there, they can't come on the country. So the original people do know of their history, and they know of Lemuria. That's why they call it Mu. And they also know of the Pleiades, which we're running into everywhere, and Orion. It's all over the place. I mean, you've got to remember, next to the carry-on glyphs, and it's very important we get a perspective here when we talk about an ancient civilization. Next to the carry-on glyph, we've identified, we think, are at least 4,500 star markers. Now, that includes star markers. We've already had one dated at 4,600.
Yep.
We've now found Orion on another platform which has 600 star markers on one rock platform alone, and they are everywhere. Now, people are going to argue and say some are natural, some are this. I'm not sure some will be, but we've already found star systems there. Now, our question is, if you find thousands upon thousands of rock markings pointing up to the sky, why are they doing it? It's because they're remembering their ancient past and they keep it alive in their history. And up there is where they came. And Lemuria and that part of the story is also part of this. So we really do go back a long way in this country.
Oh yeah. See, that's one of the reasons, guys, that I was studying all this, and then finally somebody in Australia started trying to share, and that's when I, what was a couple of years ago, so I met you guys down there. That's the part about it. This goes way deep, and what I suspected seems to be coming true on, you're right, Lemuria is before Mu, but Australia with your markers and then that compass that it turned out it turned out to be 15 degrees off kilter. That goes into the Churchward story about the first, I believe it was the first catastrophe that actually hit Mu was in the southwest corner. And just metaphorically saying Mu was one solid continent, right? Which the possibilities of that's rather slim. But the southwest corner of Mu would be Australia, New Guinea, Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, and all that. That would be the southwest corner. Am I not mistaken, Jack?
Notwithstanding his other pronouncements concerning the presence of artifacts on Australia, yes.
Okay. So, well, the thing is what we're finding out more and more about Australia is the tsunami action that really tore it up. So that we're still working on some of those layer connections as to how long the tsunamis lasted, because that's another one of our flood myths. Part of our flood myths is they weren't able to make the difference, discern the difference between a tsunami and a flood.
It'd be kind of hard to tell the difference.
Yeah, especially on that scale, because as we go into our Catastrophism series, what we're trying to do is draw the picture of the depths of some of the catastrophes, the inertia effects that went that went along. And it kind of goes right back to places like maybe Göbekli Tepe, if I said that correctly, and the Burroughs Cave. Those are just two of the places that really stand out to me right now that were maybe possibly deliberate collections.
No, but there is a difference between Burroughs Cave and Göbekli Tepe, because Burroughs Cave is a definitely underground tunnel system. Göbekli Tepe is a culture which is covered, all the statues and everything is covered by earth. That goes in the direction with the places we could point out to Stephen and Evan.
Okay. So, well, the commonality between the two would be that it was an intentional act, whether it be the intentional covering up at GT or the putting into the Burroughs Cave, this collection. What's your opinion on that?
I think Burroughs Cave is a place where they were hiding their real important things, a civilization which we do not know exactly until now who did it, but the stones they found inside there, they had the same unknown writing which we talked at the beginning of our interview of your program.
Okay, so Klaus, definitely when you look at the artifacts and you start recognizing the categories or the differences within the carvings on the stones, there are some of them that really show signs of being a very advanced civilization. Is that correct?
No, the carving is not that, how to say, it doesn't look like it was necessary to have a high technology to do this, no. But the translation of some of these stones by Kurt Schildmann, they are telling a story of a very high advanced civilization.
Okay, yeah, that's what I mean. I didn't necessarily mean the technology to make the carvings, but what I was meaning was, like in some of the carvings that are on there, they, the faces and the helmets, for instance, that are on them, they indicate that, to me, they would almost like be a helmet that a pilot or somebody might wear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of the pictures are looking like this. You are completely right. But there are even more interesting artifacts in Mexico with stone carvings which are showing things which we have to think about. They are so good that when we showed some of these pictures in one of the conferences, even the UFO freaks were writing immediately, these pieces are fakes because they are too perfect, too good.
Well, yeah. After I looked at a lot of them too, that's one of the symbology is the message. I mean, when you look at them, the artifacts, I believe it was Nassim and you that presented those.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. When you look at the detail on those, it tells the story, which goes into the symbology that we're talking about on how these layers are just over and over on top of each other. We have like the Burroughs Caves. We have the ones now in Mexico, and I'm glad to hear that you are speaking of them now because it's been a long trail. I know you checked them out pretty thoroughly.
I received the first photographs around 3.5 years ago already.
Good, yeah. Well, and these things are important, because they've been buried, in time. And I believe the ones down in Mexico, they're ceramic, they are ceramic.
No, No, the majority are stones, and only 1/5 of this private collection is made out of a kind of ceramic. But as Jack said before, that William Niven in the Valley of Mexico, when he did the excavations, he found several civilizations under certain layers, and the most advanced one was the deepest one.
Really? Well, that, if I'm not mistaken, that was, correct me if I'm wrong, what is that, 3, 4, 5 miles north of present Teotihuacan, Jack?
It's pretty close. And they were able to date this due to the, I'm not sure the name of the volcano down there, but they do know when the volcano erupted, and all this, that in the lowest civilization that Niven found, that's why they called it the buried cities, it was under the lava flow. So they know how old it is.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I was down and walked up and down the Avenue of the Dead for a few days down there, and Teotihuacan is something to ponder, because when you look at it, maybe that's the surviving end of that bottom layer of civilization.
Actually, no. There's, from what Niven found, he found three levels that were underneath Teotihuacan.
3 levels? Okay, wait a minute. I missed that somewhere along the line. Okay, so there was 3 levels under Teotihuacan.
Correct, because Teotihuacan was still on the surface then.
Yes.
Okay.
So he was able to find, in some of his excavations, 3 pavements going down through the I guess, the sediment.
Right, because at one time, the valley that Mexico City is in now, that was a big lake, correct?
Well, this was after the, well, it could have been a lake before, but afterwards they do notice that the, I guess the volcanic, the debris from the volcanic eruption entombed the lowest civilization, and then they have evidence that on top of that there was a flood of some kind.
Right, because I know when we flew into Mexico City, we had to fly, the old circle pattern for a while, and I noticed there was probably maybe 8 or 10 volcanoes that encircle Mexico City. It seems like the northern end of it was lacking a few volcanoes, but there's quite a few volcanoes that surround that valley, and it's big. It's definitely big. So, but I'd like to get in to a discussion sometime a little bit deeper with you, with Niven, about Nivens. But right now, it looks like we're about running out of time. Unfortunately, this has really been a great show.
Fabulous.
And I just blinked, and it's like, oh no, it's that time again.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Can I just say, thanks a million, Klaus. Thank you.
Klaus must have already fallen asleep.
No. I didn't hear it. I was, maybe with one moment I was already gone.
No.
He was changing toothpicks.
Yeah. Where's the toothpick?
You know, Jack, my Cinderella time usually is around 10 p.m. So I'm already 4 hours over my normal sleeping time.
I know, dear. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Klaus. I mean, you really helped us out here all along the way, man, and we do appreciate your time for stepping in with us at USOKS, man, because you're an influence on a lot of researchers around the planet.
No, and on my side, thank you to you, Bob, and especially also great thanks to Australia, to Stephen and Evan. They are doing a great job, and also, Jack, congratulations to your work, and especially also to the work of your great-grandfather.
No, thank you very much.
Thanks.
And thank you.
Thank you, Klaus. We could do without you, that's for sure.
Well, the thing is it takes a big village, right? And we have to give, and today, tonight was really a big salute to James Churchward and, Jack, for him being inspiration to a lot of us.
Yeah.
They got us into researching a little bit deeper, and then we've along the way we keep finding these connections that keep drawing us back to something that James presented, and we just keep bringing back the evidence.
I really appreciate you inviting me, and I'll always be standing by if you need someone to talk to about my great-grandfather's research.
Right on.
Thank you so much, Jack. Thank you.
Yeah, and Steve and Evan, you guys too. Well, as far as it goes, Jack, I think we have you slated along with the Strongs and a couple other researchers here in the near future. So
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we look forward to hearing more from you. And Klaus, thank you, sir, for helping us along the way here. And whenever you do feel like staying up late, and you're definitely more than welcome, sir.
I still have to wait a little longer because after this interview I have to send something to Stephen and Evan.
Well,
Excellent. Thank you.
Excellent. Just keep us in the loop. And Bobby, I know we're encroaching our zero moment.
Yes, you are.
Well, listen, from all of us at USOKS and everybody here is from the USOKS, from our independent research team, and thank you very much for allowing us the space on the air.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby.
Okay, thank you very much from Project Freedom Radio Network, and thank you, Klaus Dona, Jack Churchward, and Stephen Evan Strong. Hope to see you guys here soon again. Bob Newton, of course, our main guy here, and we're going to do it again next Thursday, I think, if I'm not mistaken. What do you think, Bob?
Well, yeah, we sure do, and we have our Thursday nights covered. And also, this once a month Tuesday show that we're doing is where we're going to try to pull together researchers like we have done tonight, and we're going to continue that momentum and connect it to our ancient past, and it's actually getting kind of exciting in a way, because we're going back to Peru here very soon, Ann and I are, to work on this Babylonia aspect and facet, which actually comes out of two deep researchers, and that would be James Churchward and Alfredo Gamera.
Wow.
So that we're going back there for our second trip, and it'd be pretty cool to find Babylonia, I think, the real one, not the one that's just written, metaphorically out there. So.
Okay, guys, we're going to go, and we'll get to on Thursday night, Bob, right?
Yes, sir, Thursday night, and we'll be back, sometime in February on Tuesday also, along with all the Thursdays.
Okay, I'll look forward to getting in touch with you. This is number 4 of the Catastrophism series, live from the USOKS Global Connection, live right here on Project Freedom Radio. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks, Bob.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.